Hello and welcome again to this Educational Monday session. And today we're going to talk about toxic people and how to cultivate positivity. So let's dive in with the PowerPoint. It's very short, but yet very important. And I really want to have this workshop to help you deal with toxic people in your life, including family members. I am Olga Binyaminov, and I'm so happy that so many of you are here with me today and you are ready and willing to learn and share your experiences. I want to work together to cultivate positivity and protect our well-being from toxic influences. So let's get started with first the introduction. Let's define what it means by toxic behavior. So first, toxic behavior really refers to an action that or a pattern that causes harm. And by the purpose of today's workshop, I want you to understand what it means, learn the impact of it, give you some strategies, and of course, handle toxic family members. So going back to the definition, toxic behavior is referred to any action or pattern that causes harm, distress, or negativity to others. These behaviors can really undermine your well-being, self-esteem, and overall mental health. So here are some characteristics of toxic behavior. The first one is really manipulation. When people use unfair tactics to control or influence others for personal gain. For example, playing a victim or withholding important information. The second characteristics is narcissism, and it's really exhibiting excessive self-centeredness and lack of empathy for others. For example, always making conversations about themselves and dismissing other feelings. Another such characteristic is constant criticism, frequently putting others down, often undermining other people by saying they're helping or being honest, but really not giving any constructive feedback. Remember, criticism is okay as long as it's constructive and gives you the understanding of what should be done instead, I'm sorry. Another characteristic is emotional abuse, using words or actions to manipulate, control, or demean someone else. For example, making belittling comments or giving the silence treatment. Passive aggressive behavior is another characteristic of toxic behavior, indirectly expressive negative feelings instead of addressing them openly. For example, sarcasm remarks, procrastination, or giving backhand compliments. Blaming and shaming, when you refuse to take responsibility, when one refuses to take responsibility for their action and instead blaming others for the reason why these actions were done. So that, for example, making other feel guilty for what that person have done or for whatever consequence was for that action. Jealousy and envy, when people display excessive jealousy and envy, it can really lead to controlling behavior. For example, trying to isolate someone from their friends or constantly questioning their actions. It is a very unhealthy and toxic behavior. And lastly, inconsistency and unpredictability, being erratic and unpredictable in behavior, which creates instability. So for example, having sudden mood swings or making arbitrary decisions that affect other people without really considering the other person. So now that you know the different characteristics, I want to talk about the impact of toxic relationship. Toxic relationships can really be very significant emotionally, psychologically, and physically. So I want to start with emotional and psychological effect. Toxic relationships can lead to anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem, and of course, other mental issues as well. So you might feel constantly stressed, fearful, or unhappy. It also has physical health implications. The stress from toxic people can manifest physically, causing headaches, fatigue, digestive issues, and other related illnesses. And the third significant impact is the impact to other relationships. Toxic relationships can spill over and affect other areas in your life, including friendship, work relationship, or even family dynamics. You might find yourself withdrawing or becoming more irritable with others because of the toxic relationship that you are facing. So, what are some strategies for handling toxic people? So first and foremost is setting boundaries. That means clearly communicate your limits and sticking to them. So for example, if someone is constantly negative, let them know that you won't engage in these conversations. So there are some strategies for setting boundaries. For example, identify your limits. Know what you really can tolerate and what you cannot tolerate. Make sure that you understand what makes you uncomfortable. Recognize the physical, emotional, and mental limits that you have. Be assertive. Clearly and respectfully communicate your boundaries to others. Use I statements, and we talked about that before, which expresses your needs without blaming others. So, for example, you can say, I feel overwhelmed when you do such and such thing, as opposed to saying, you are doing this to me. So, when you take the I statement, you really bring it back to owning and understanding the expression of your needs. Consistent enforcement, stick to your boundaries consistently. If someone crosses your boundaries, remind them and really take appropriate actions. Say no when needed. Understand that it's okay to say no without feeling guilty. Your well being is priority. Evaluate relationships. Assess which relationship respect your boundaries and which one is not, and adjust your involvement accordingly. The second strategy is effective communication. In effective communication, you should use assertive communication techniques. I did talk about several techniques in my previous videos, but I always mention the focus on the I statement to express your feelings without blaming or criticizing the other person. So I feel hurt when you criticize me in front of others, as opposed to you hurt me by criticizing. So it's just basically owning your feeling on that. So how do you communicate effectively? Active listening is very important. When you pay full attention to the speaker, you acknowledge their message, you respond thoughtfully, and you avoid interruptions. You should never ever interrupt a person as they speak. Listen to them and make sure that you are engaged in what they are complaining or talking or expressing. Clearly and concise, communicate your messages. Be direct and straightforward in your communication and avoid a vague or ambiguous statement. There are also nonverbal communication cues, and I have spoken about that in my previous communication skill video. You can look up on my YouTube channel. Be mindful that there is body language, eye contact, facial expressions, and they can reinforce or actually undermine your verbal message. Use empathy and understanding. Try to understand the other person's perspective. Show empathy and validate their feelings. You don't know what the other person is feeling. Even if you don't agree with how they're feeling, you got to validate and understand that that is actually their feeling about it. And of course, feedback and clarification. Ask clarifications when you are unsure on what the message is, and just clarify that you understand things correctly. Clarify any misunderstandings immediately. And the last strategy is self-care. Practicing self-care is important. When you engage in self-care activities, you manage your stress and maintain your well-being. This could include meditation, exercise, hobbies, or seek professional need as needed. Physical health, maintain healthy diet, express regularly, and get adequate sleep. Sleep is one of the most important physical health that maintains your well-being, that helps maintain your well-being. Regular checkups with a health professional, healthcare provider is also very essential. Mental health, engage in activities that reduce stress, as such as mindfulness, meditation, hobbies, and that ties into emotional well-being. Allow yourself to feel and process emotions. Journaling or taking or talking to someone, talking to a trusted friend can really support and uplift. It can really help. And of course, prioritize tasks, set boundaries, um, know exactly what important task is, and set clear, realistic goals. We talked about SMART goals. Again, you can look up through the other videos I've done. Make sure that you have priorities and make time to relax and prioritize tasks. It is also important to seek for support when needed. Sometimes talking to others who have experience with a similar situation can really help. And identify your support system. Recognize who in your life can offer support. It could be family, it could be friend, it could be mentor, or even a professional counselor. You should communicate your needs and don't hesitate to reach out and express your needs for others, other support, other people's support. Be specific about what exactly you need. Participate in support groups as appropriate, or communicate with people that experienced similar issues. Um, so when you implement all those strategies, they can really foster healthier relationship, improve communication, and enhance self-care that provides necessary support system and contribute to your well-being. Now, some of you can identify with that, dealing with toxic family members. It is very difficult to deal with, and there are specific challenges that are involved specifically to family members. Understand that there are unique challenges in family dynamics when you feel obligation or cultural, or if there are cultural expectations. When do you know to maintain relationships? Use strategies to manage toxic family members while really maintaining some level of relationship. This might involve limit contact when needed, setting specific times for interactions, and prepare yourself mentally for those gatherings. In some cases, it may be necessary to distance yourself from toxic family members for your own well-being. This can be gradual process and should be really communicated clearly to maintain your safety and your mental health-being. Dealing with toxic family members really presents a unique challenge because family relationships often have deep roots and complex, and they're very complex. There are certain strategies that you can address these challenges. Of course, I'm going back to setting and enforcing boundaries. Define your boundaries clearly. Determine what behavior you will or will not tolerate. Communicate those boundaries assertively to your toxic family members. Stay consistent because consistency upholds your boundaries. If a family member crosses a boundary, address it immediately and reinforce your limits. Control your interactions and limit your exposure to toxic family members. This might mean that you need to reduce the frequency and the duration of your interactions. When contact is necessary, choose neutral and public setting to minimize the potential of conflict. Stay calm and composed. Maintain your maintain your composure during the interaction. Avoid getting drawn into arguments or emotional outbursts, which is very easy with when dealing with toxic family members. use the I statement when you communicate your feelings. You need to do so without blaming. For example, I feel uncomfortable when instead of you always. Share your experiences with friends, other family members, or any support group who can offer their perspective or advice. Consider seeing a therapist when needed, or at least a counselor to develop coping. So it's really a difficult, there's no a one solution all on how to deal with that. But I think those three are the main ways to be able to deal with toxic family members and toxic relationship. Again, specific challenges that you have to overcome. If you have to see those family members at specific occasions, just make sure you mentally prepare yourself. Maintain relationships that need to be maintained as they need to be maintained. And of course, when needed, distance yourself. Handling toxic people, especially within family, is very challenging, but it is achievable with the right strategies and support. I hope that this gave you a little bit of perspective. And if you understand what toxic behavior is and learn the effective coping strategies, you can really cultivate healthier and more positive environment for yourself and your loved ones. I would love to hear your comments. What do you think? Do you have a situation that you're dealing with? How do you cope with toxic people or toxic family members? Please feel free to write below, comment, and share the video. And until our educational journey crosses again, always remember that learning is a gateway to a bright future. I'm so happy and grateful for you being here today. During the month of July, I will be focusing on parenting, and I will be posting some suggested reading for those of you that want to read about parenting. We'll talk about a lot of things during July that involves parenting and dealing with children. So until I see you again next Monday, have a great week ahead.